good morning. This is the 55th time, if you can believe it, that I have come to you either on my porch or somewhere else around my property or in our sanctuary in a worship service, bringing to you a message since all of this started for us. And if you rewind back to March 26th, it was my mother's 80th birthday. And I shared with you in her honor the wonderful first little phrase in the poem to mothers and to wives in Proverbs 31 that in Hebrew is Eshet Hayil. And it is always translated badly in English for some reason. It comes out a virtuous woman or a faithful woman, and those are fine adjectives and that works. But Eshet Hayil is so much more powerful than that. The best translation of it probably is a woman of valor. So this is not a shrinking violet. This is Joan of Arc riding into battle. And that's what that poem wants to capture for this virtuous woman, this woman of valor, this mother, this wife who is to be greatly praised. Tomorrow is Mother's Day, and I want us all to say Eshet Hayil to all of those women in our lives who in one way or another are mothers to us. Some people don't have mothers that are women of valor, and you've had to find other mothers in your life, and that's okay. Some women's children are not going to rise up and say that they are women of valor, even if they are. And you may have other children, other people in your life that you have had to mother. That's okay as well. But let's talk really briefly about Mother's Day first. The Mother's Day that we celebrate in the United States first came about, or at least in its current form, by a woman named Anna Jarvis. And Anna was a peace activist during the Civil War, if you can imagine it. She ministered to and cared for wounded soldiers on both sides of that conflict. She didn't want anybody's son to suffer, regardless of on what side of a conflict that they might be on. When her mother died in 1905, she was grief-stricken, and by 1908, she convinced her church to celebrate mothers in May to remember her mother, but to remember all mothers. And pretty quickly, she got frustrated as Mother's Day took off. By 1911, it was signed into law that Mother's Day would be the second day in May by President Woodrow Wilson, and Mother's Day kind of took off. But of course, like so many things American, it quickly became commercialized. And Anna Jarvis had always felt like that Mother's Day should be a time where we send mothers handmade cards and we spend time with our mothers and let them know personally how much they mean to us. And when it became all about flowers and candy and Hallmark cards, and Hallmark was back there at that time as well, she just became infuriated. She felt like that the commercialization was taking over it. And in 1925, she was arrested for disturbing the peace because she was protesting outside of stores and whatnot, the commercialization of Mother's Day. Anna Jarvis was an Eshet Hayil. She was a woman of valor. And she wanted for us to remember our mothers and not to let all of the other stuff get in the way of that. During this COVID-19, I, as all of you I know, have seen stories and heard about women who have been true women of valor. And I want to share with you 3 or 4 stories of women who are women known to me personally. And I'm not going to name them because I want them to stand for all those other women, those other mothers who are doing similar things. There's one woman who is a medical professional, and early on she was working with treating people who were suffering from the effects of COVID-19. And so she stayed at the hospital and found a place just somewhere at the hospital to sleep. Later, a hotel opened up their doors for medical professionals, and she would go to the hotel. But for weeks, she wasn't able to see her children because she didn't want to bring COVID-19 home. And so she sacrificed the time that she could have with her children so that she could care for other people and for other people's children. She is, and those like her are, Eshet Hayil, women of valor. Clergy woman, friend of mine, wrote on Facebook clergy support group kind of thing that I was in and have been in, where we're sharing ideas back and forth, expressing how tired she was because she was caring for her children while also trying to care for her congregation. And it was so hard to care for young children in the house while also having all of these other duties that she wanted to do and needed to do, all these other people she needed to care for. And pastoral care now is a lot harder than it used to be. We can't go and be with people, and we can't see people on Sundays, and so we have had to find other ways to be in touch with them. And she was struggling balancing being a mom to her children and also being the pastor that she needed to be. And I realized that that wasn't my struggle, and my children are grown, and I don't have to worry about that kind of thing, and I've been able to work much more single-mindedly and focused than she was. And so for women, not only clergy, but other women like her who have had to work from home and also be homeschool teachers and also be chefs and also be entertainment directors while they're trying to do their jobs as well. You are Eshet Hayel, women of valor. A friend of mine's child was in an accident, was airlifted to the hospital, and she spent the night in the parking lot of the hospital in her truck waiting for someone to come out to tell her how her son was doing. That Eshet Hayel, that woman of valor, could have gone home and waited for a phone call, but she wasn't going to do that. She wasn't allowed in the hospital, but she was going to be as physically close as she could be to her son until she discovered that he was okay, and miraculously he was discharged the next day. But for those women whose children have gone to the hospital and they have not been able to be there for their child, but have found ways to pray for them and be close to them and care for them anyway, Eshet Hayel, you are women of valor. So many moms of children these days have had to find ways to help their children cope with this. They've had Zoom birthday parties for their children or other Zoom play dates. They found ways for their children to be able to see their friends maybe from a distance, from a car window or across a parking lot or something. You found ways to help your children cope with what has been a troubling and unsettling time for all of us, but particularly for children. You are Eshet Hayels, women of valor. And I want all of you to know, those of you who are mothers in my life, I'm so thankful for my mother, but I have so many other mothers, so many other women in my life who care for me and inspire me. Thank you for being women of valor. Thank you for being women of faith. Thank you for being virtuous. You're making a difference in my life. You're making a difference in the lives of your family and those around you. You're making a difference in the kingdom of God. You are women of valor, because you know and you express every day that God is with us. Happy Mother's Day tomorrow. Amen.